Speaking of which, should we get stuck into a bit of a preview of Australia versus India? The squads were announced during the week.
Great segue there, Shauno. Australia will take on India. We're still a few weeks away. It's kind of a nice little lull, down under. We'll talk about the Big Bash in a little bit.
Yes.
Maybe a little bit more interesting, perhaps, with some test players. But the squads have been named. So we'll run quickly through the squads. Obviously, Pat Cummins and Steve Smith resume their leadership roles. Ashton Agar, a lot spoken about him in the Sydney Test. Probably didn't bowl up to what we were after, but, left arm orthodox spins the ball away from the right-hander. A lot of people have stuck by him and what can he do in India moving forward? That is the question. Scott Boland, you love to see it. Bloke averages fucking 10.5.
Yes.
You got to take him.
You got to put him in the squad, yeah.
Got to take him. Alex Carey, who we saw score his first 100 this summer as a test player.
Is he the only keeper in that list?
I suppose Peter Hanscom could take the gloves if necessary. Welcome back, Footbrush. He's been very good in the Sheffield Shield this year. Cam Green recovering from that finger injury. Josh Hazlewood, Travis Head, Usman Khawaja, Marnus Labuschagne, Nathan Lyon. No surprises amongst those names. Lance Morris, if you're from overseas, you may not have heard a bunch about this bloke. He bowls rapid. He's a Western Australian. He's young. It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, he's the Stark second stringer.
Yeah, and moving forward, look, you probably don't see him in our best 11 for this series, but we'll play Test cricket for Australia, so it's going to be interesting to see
Bowls wheels
how he goes in the nets. Another bloke that a lot has been spoken about is Todd Murphy, 22-year-old. I think he played. What was it?
First class game?
2, I think, first class games before he went on that trip last year. Introducing him to the world of international cricket. One would think perhaps takes over the reins from Nathan Lyon in a few years' time.
That is the chat. Be his shadow, apprentice, as you will. Padawan, there you go.
Padawan, Padawan.
Follow Nathan Lyon around and learn as much as he can. They're very similar styles, very similar bowlers, so heir apparent. So we'll see how that plays out.
Matt Renshaw, he had COVID. He had to stand, 28 centimetres away from the other blokes as to not get them COVID.
What, he hit 15?
Yeah, not much opportunity.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Not much opportunity. Well. Mitch Stark coming back from that finger injury. Yep. Mitch Schwesen. Be interesting to see if we do go 2 spinners, if he gets the nod or if it's going to be Agar and David Warner. Omitted, Michael Neser of juggling the ball, in row Z.
Yep.
Fame. Z.
A31, row 10. Yep.
And Marcus Harris, look, had been given a lot of opportunity in test matches.
Well, he ran plenty of waters this summer. But didn't. Guess he's around the squad, but it looks like they've gone with Hanscom and say Renshaw as the other rebuilding not renovation, but the re-changing, designing, whatever you want to say, bringing back former players that have played in the Australian squad. They've gone away, hit a bunch of shield runs. Hanscom's been very, very good. With his first class cricket, so you can see why they've brought him back into the squad. Probably would deserve it after the way he's been playing. I guess it's switch. Harris will go back and have to do his job, hit some runs, get some form, and then see if they can break into that top lineup, which at the moment looks very, very difficult.
It does.
Yeah. Barring any injuries, I don't think that's changing anytime soon. So, did you cover the Egyptian guys as well?
Jai Richardson has a hammy, and Will Pukowski obviously still sitting out with concussive-like symptoms.
Yeah, it was very good to see him on commentary during the Sydney Test as well, and hearing from him and saying that he's actually getting back into his batting. Been doing network mostly with for close family, his father. But he's said he's loving it. He's getting back into it and just working his way into it, and so it'd be good to see him return to full health and hopefully return to the Australian squad at some point. So before we move to India, 2 spinners. That's been the conversation. You've got probably, the 3 guys as the main options. Do you think... And, well, for the first test, I think it's possible Cam Green misses the first one. I think he plays the second one.
With his finger.
Based on the time frame for the finger. So does that mean Agar more likely as your all-rounder to replace Cam Green, or do they go with the same squad they went to Sydney with?
You want someone that turns the ball away from the right-hander, obviously to complement Nathan Lyon. Is that going to be Ashton Agar? Is that going to be Mitch Swepson? Swepson's red ball form in Australian domestic cricket probably lacks, something in terms of his numbers.
I think his Australian form, though, is better than his subcontinent form, which I think may be a bit of an issue there. But he is probably the best pick of a specialist spinner outside of Nathan Lyon.
So I like Mitch Swepson. I like what he does. I'd love to see him playing on a ranked Nagpur day 4, landmine deck. But does it come down to Agar giving you something with the bat, and you can bat him at 8, and is that the thing that splits the two?
And then what, do you pick 3 quicks?
Not necessarily. Not necessarily.
Would you have Agar and Swepson in the squad?
In the team, I doubt it.
Oh, yeah, in the team.
No, I don't think you can afford to carry both of them.
So it'd be more like a Swepson or either one of those and Renshaw. Maybe. You bat deep.
Yeah.
Again, well, that's the Sydney squad. That's what they played with recently.
And this is assuming Cam Green is unavailable.
Yes. I think a different conversation for the second test, because I think that is almost definite. I think Cam Green will be back for that one, just based on time frame. I'd say 50-50 the first. I'd say definite for the second. So these guys probably need to press for their spot, knowing that Cam Green's going to walk back in. Because I think if Cam Green's healthy, it makes more sense to go Swepson, because you've got him as the extra pace option, and then you pick your 2 spinners.
Yep.
Whereas that's why my question: if you pick Agar, then do you pick an extra pace guy so you still have 3 pace guys in the squad, in the team? Sorry, to bowl.
It's gonna be interesting. That is for sure.
Easy decision to make.
No.
Glad
we're not selecting.
Yeah, I know. And to throw out an odd one, if you love Nathan Lyon so much, why wouldn't you have 2 of them?
Well, yeah, that is an interesting question.
Yeah,
because most of the conventional thinking is you want 2 spinners that complement each other.
But could you have Nathan Lyon bowling at both ends? Wouldn't that still?
Yeah, Todd Murphy.
But that's also a big, big.
That's a wrap on
Todd Murphy. But
yeah.
they do love him. That's why he's in the squad at such a young age, and they want him there to of course, absorb as much as he can from Nathan Lyon. But yeah, if Agar really hasn't done that much, Swepson really hasn't been pushing his case, do they try a Todd Murphy, and go like for like and, see if they could end up with 2 Nathan Lyons in the squad?
I'd be surprised if that's the way that they go, but I also hear where you're coming from. Why not? Why not have 2 that spin it into the right hander if they're the 2 best spinners in the team?
Yep. Well, I guess maybe let's use that as a segue into the Indian squad. How many right-handers do they have in that team? Maybe we'll leave that up to Jimmy to figure out the batsmen of which
in
way
terms
they
of
bat.
sticks.
Yeah. Do they have a preference that maybe they do have the?
It's a lot of right-handers, especially in the top order. Rohit Sharma will captain the team. KL Rahul will be the vice skipper. Into Shubman Gill, Cheteshwar Pujara, Virat Kohli, getting hot. Shreyas Iyer, KS Bharat, don't know too much about him. Ishan Kishan, Ravi Ashwin, Akshar Patel.
Well, you skip over those 2. Those 2 will be, one of them will be the keeper, of course, with Pant still recovering from his injuries after the car accident.
Lucky to be alive, really.
Yes.
Really.
Scenes, some of the videos coming out of that, very, very lucky.
Hoping he makes a full recovery. I suppose cricket is probably the last thing on his mind at the moment. We've had a bit to do with the Delhi Capitals, and he's been with them for quite some time. From the other side of the world, I suppose we feel some sort of connection to Rishabh Pant, and just hoping that he pulls through this difficult circumstance.
I think we've all had big raps on him. Think he's probably potentially the next Indian captain. Whenever Rohit kind of hangs it up, I think he's the captain in waiting essentially. So yeah, we'll hopefully the best for him. Hopefully full recovery, and that he can come back into the squad in due time. Do you want to finish off? Where do we get to? Ashwin Patel?
Ravi Ashwin, Akshar Patel, Kuldeep Yadav, Ravi Jadeja comes back. So there's their 4 spinning options, I suppose, on their decks. Probably the 4 best spinners in the world, really. So that's going to be
I was trying to think,
interesting.
When was the last test played there? Was it against England? Or do they play as test series since then?
I think it was England.
And what did they do? They did Ashwin and Patel for most of it, and I think for like the last game they switched out.
But Jadeja unavailable. So you would think Jadeja picks himself.
Yep.
Would you not?
Yeah, I would say so.
Mohammad Shami, Mohammad Siraj, Umesh Yadav, Jadev Unadkat, I hope I'm saying that right, and then Surya Kumar Yadav, who has been absolutely killing it in the white ball format. I wonder if he manages to sneak his way into this test team.
Well, there's another big out there due to injury that we haven't mentioned besides Pant.
They're best quick. Jasprit Bumrah still recovering. So as an Aussie fan, looking at this team, you love to see that Bumrah and Pant aren't in there in terms of our ability to go and jag a few wins over there. Having said that, you look at that squad and how good they are in India. We've got our backs against the wall. It's a massive task, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to look at that list Jimmy's thrown up on the screen, and I see a lot of right-handers.
Yeah, that's the whole batting.
Yeah, the whole top order is right-handers in that big list there. Most of your all-rounders a bit
through the middle order. You get a bit of
that.
Akshar
Still
Patel,
a lot of right, and your pace guys are right. So I don't know, maybe a little bit to that theory. They've got a lot of right guys. Maybe that's what they'll like. They'll may hope for the 2 Nathan Lyon option. We will see.
I wouldn't want to go with that option and then it not work though. Like you'd probably want to try and make sure you do have other options, I guess.
So I think that's maybe...
Would you be relying on maybe a Smith or Labuschagne to provide something a little bit different?
Maybe. Oh, I think this might be more an option, say, for the second tests. Again, Cam Green. Maybe that's where they go, hey, we've got Cam to cover us with a bit extra pace. You've got a bit more rotation there. Let's try our 2 Nathan Lyon special and see what happens. Maybe. It might depend on how the first one goes. Like if we get pumped, they might want to make changes, wholesale changes, and then gives them options to go elsewhere. If it's very close, they'll just stick with whatever the squad was that they went into the first game with. So we'll see.
Is it
a lot to happen? A lot of question marks.
And back to your point, there's a high probability that they go into that first test with the top order only having one left-handed stick in terms of Ishan Kishan.
Well, who's your 11 for India, Peppy?
Sharma, obviously, at the top. I think Gill probably
opens. Yep.
Yeah, I think Pujara bats 3. I think Kohli bats 4.
Yep.
Where it gets interesting is probably 5 and 6. Does Surya Kumar Yadav get a gig there? Does Shreyas Iyer get a gig? Do they both get a gig?
Potentially.
I'm working this out as we go. I think that's 5 and 6. I think Akshar Patel probably plays again at 7.
Who's your keeper?
Ishan Kishan.
Kishan, yep. So I think Patel at 7 kind of makes sense.
Jadeja 8.
Ashwin, well...
Can he play 3?
Yeah, you've picked 3 spinners there. Yeah, well, you can't leave Ashwin out of the squad. He's too much of a veteran presence.
That's hard, man. And then probably the two
Mo's, 2 best quicks. Yeah.
The 2 Mo's probably play. Look, it'd be a nice problem to have to be an Indian selector looking at that team over there.
Yeah, big choices we made in both teams for the first test match. Be really interesting to see what happens. Whether one blinks first and they announce their team, and then the other one maybe makes a radical change for the other one. Who knows? We'll see.
Fuck, you made me think on the spot then as well.
Sorry. No, that's all right.
It's good. It's good. Like, it's going to be an interesting series, and I think for us as well, having dominated this summer, you know, against the Windies and South Africa, who we probably expected a little bit more out of.
Mm-hmm.
This is the real test of a good cricket team. Can you go
Away.
to the subcontinent on, you know, the word disgusting decks, you know, comes to mind, but that's what they're going to be. I was watching a few highlights, and you don't know what you're going to get. You know, how are our sticks going to handle that? I know Smith is very good away from home. How are the others going to go? It's going to be intriguing, and I can't wait to watch it. It might be a reality check as well.
It could be. Like, going into India to try and win a series is also very difficult.
I don't think we've done it since Adam Gilchrist took a team over there. It's been many years.
It's a very different. You know, I don't want to say it, but I feel like the Australian batsmen struggle with spin more than anything.
Well, of course they do.
Yeah, well, spin and swing
Over there.
like not unsurprising. It is the most difficult thing, but I think, you know, from where you play in Australian conditions, it's an extra magnitude more difficult, especially when you go to India for spin and you go to England for swing. Like, it's a lot different. So,
and that's
very
the thing.
Interesting.
That's the thing where Smudge really, you know, puts his name forward as being a great cricketer, is that his record away from home is
just good.
Yeah, immaculate, really.
Well, it's going to be a big test for, you know, three guys in the top four, and Usman in unreal form as well. So, yeah, it'd be big test, kind of prove the point of how good they actually are.
Looking forward to it. Definitely. It's a great time as well for, you know, us on the east coast of Australia. You can knock off work, you know, those
Straight into the cricket.
straight into it. I believe there's going to be a day-nighter as well.
Okay.
Which kind of fucks
That's
up.
us. Yeah. That's like a midnight start, isn't it?
Yeah, it's quite late, but the other three will be daytime games over there. So, you know, the early evening.
So is it pink ball? I
believe so. Yes, and I think that's going to.
That would favour us. You'd think.
I don't know.
Well, we've played probably the most pink ball out of any of the nations.
Yeah, but
but it still is there. But yes, yeah.
And I think it's Ahmedabad. He's going to have the pink ball with 130,000 saying, "You suck, Smudge."
Ooh, get some notes there. Maybe you're wrong, Peppy. No day-night test.
Any notes?
Was it?
Ramian's throwing in there.
Thank you, Romana, for sharing that. I thought differently, but perhaps I'm wrong. I've been wrong many times.
Yes. We can't be perfect. We'll let Jimmy on the end to figure that out.